And welcome to this Falai Maukegi tutorial, otherwise known as fried pumpkin Samoan style. As you can see, this is a pumpkin and this is a lamb flap. Some people call it a side of lamb, a spare rib. Cut off this flappy bit here, got no bones in it, so it's kind of easy to slice through. Cut that into long, thin strips, turn it sideways, and then cut them into small, bite-sized pieces. I'm just showing you what kind of sizes that I've been cutting. And then we get the big part here with the bones in it. We're going boneless today, but if we weren't, I'd cut through these slices here, and then I'd use my knife to cut through the bone into bite-sized pieces. But because we're going boneless, I'm going to show you how I remove the meat from the bone, lift the meat slowly, slightly back away from the meat, and slide the knife through it, kind of shaving it off the bone as you're pulling it back. Remember, a sharp knife helps to reduce the risk of accidents in the kitchen. And then that's our meat cut off the front. Then inspecting the bones for any more meat that we can cut off, like this flappy bit here. Some more flappy bits down here. Then on the front here, down the bottom, is normally where all the fat is. But I think I got it pretty good the first time, so it's only a little bit of fat left there. And this is what we're left with. Cut so close to the bone that you can see the light through the other side. And don't worry, I'm not throwing this away. I'm actually going to throw it in the oven with a little bit of salt. And that can be our chef's snack. If you work in the kitchen, you know what that means. Otherwise, we're slicing through our lamb flap here, long, thin slices, turning it sideways, and then cutting through it once again to make our bite-sized pieces. This is one whole lamb flap, currently about $15 to $18 a kilo. If you can get under 15, good on you, get heaps. Otherwise, this one was $16.99 today, August 2023. Showing you what they look like. A little bit bigger than bite-sized pieces, but remember they do reduce in size once they're cooked. Chucking our meat into a pot, covering it with some boiling water. If the water is boiling already, it helps us process along a little bit faster. Not too much water, otherwise you'll be here all day and all night. Just enough water to cover the meat. And then, like Gordon Ramsay said, season every step of the way. So here's a little bit more salt, just to make that water taste nice. And as the water evaporates, all that goodness will be soaked into the meat. And now we're back at our cutting board with our Maukegi. There's an easy way for me to do it, just to cut through 1/4 of it and then swing my knife around and cut the rest. Deal with the big part later. Focus on the small part first. Flip it over, cut it in half, give it a one side, and then cut it as wide as you want it to be. Some people like to scrape the seeds out with a spoon. I find it easier just to do it this way. And just to cut it out, make sure all the soft parts go in the rubbish and all the crunchy parts go inside the bowl for our Falai Maukegi. Now, as close as you can, get rid of the skin. Don't waste too much of your pumpkin by shaving off too much skin. And you'll notice that I'm cutting some big pieces and some small pieces. You don't want all your pieces to be the same size. You want some of them to become the juice of the Falai Maukegi, to kind of emulsify and get squashed and pulverized into the Falai Maukegi. And then you want some bigger bits that will stay in shape and in form to eat as part of your Falai Maukegi. So you'll notice that not all of them are equal in size, and that is on purpose. Here's a small kind of off-cut bit. Same deal. Cut it so you can slice the sides off like this. And these smaller bits is what I use to make my small pumpkin pieces. And then a time lapse to show you how fast I can cut. So much like with the time lapse of the cutting of the pumpkin, there's also a bit of a time lapse with the cooking of the meat. Now what I wanted to see was the water level getting lower and lower, but I'm just not really having the desired effect here, but we'll leave it in anyway. And you're just boiling the meat away until the water disappears. Some people kind of skip this part and pour out the water halfway and then add in oil and start doing it that way. But if you let the water reduce all the way down until it's just the oil and the fats from the lamb, then you will have a much better final product. The meat will be super soft, super tender, and super juicy. So trust the process, make sure the water's gone all the way. Now you saw there was still a little bit of water left there. And then you come back about 15 minutes later, most of the water's gone. You'll hear it starting to sizzle now with the oil that's left, and now the cooking begins. Add a whole onion there, and some crushed garlic, from the fridge, about a tablespoon, and then stir that through. Cooking your onion and your garlic in the lamb fat. Make sure you use the handle that's not burning your hand. And then I like to add a beef stock cube, OXO, red box, and as you can see, if you have hands like the Hulk, trying to work one of these silver cubes is a pain in the buttocks, but I managed to get it this time without Hulk smashing the pot. Stir that through, start to smell really nice now, and then here comes the secret ingredient. Secret? I said it right, secret ingredients. The teaspoon of this stuff. I wasn't going to show it, I wasn't sure, some people frown upon it, but I decided to show it anyway. It is this stuff. I would read it, but I don't want to get cancelled. Otherwise known as MSG, or monosodium glutamate, and it's known to give an umami flavor to any dish that it's added to, and I think it's a perfect addition to this dish, Falai Maukens. So stirring through, allowing things to fry off together, and now you see our meat has browned nicely in that lamb fat. And now we add the star of the show, the Maukegi, or the pumpkin. Any minute now, there we go. Add in all the pumpkin that we cut, all the big pieces and the little pieces, and then we give it about a cup full of boiling water to help the process along. Now we're giving it a good strong stir, moving some of that flavored meat and onions and garlic and MSG to the top, and moving some of the pumpkin pieces to the bottom. And make sure you don't drop any piece of meat to the side. I was going to eat it because I thought you could see me on camera, but now that I see that I couldn't see it fall out, I wish I did eat it. Just moving it around, making sure that all the pumpkin pieces are coated in all that juice that's on the bottom. Remember, you added in that water, so there's a fair bit of liquid in the pot. Once you've mixed it as well as you think you need to, then there's nothing left to do but to it. Chuck the lid on and let it come to a boil. Once it's boiled, turn it down to a low medium heat and let that baby cook. I've come back about 15 minutes later, almost 20 minutes, just letting it simmer on low. Still got a little bit more juice in there than I prefer. But the pumpkin isn't all the way done yet. As you can see, once the edges of all your pumpkin pieces become soft and mushy, then we're good to go. So just give it a bit of a stir, allow the process to work. There's all the juices and the liquid from the pumpkin and a cup of water that we added. So just let that simmer a little bit more, and all the soft pieces of pumpkin would have mushed up now and helped to thicken it up a little bit, as you can see. And that is our final product. Falai Maukegi served on a bed of rice. Served in bed? How's that? On a bed of rice, Falai Maukegi, lamb, pumpkin, onion, garlic, salt, a little bit of MSG. Bob's your uncle, Bob's my uncle. I love it. Let's go.